Hey everybody, welcome to another fun episode of Car Machine. Currently, I am sitting in some awesome traffic. I only have to go I think I'm like 40 miles away from home, but it says I'm gonna take an hour and a half. So, yay, Baltimore traffic, gotta love it. Anyway, so I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the lore today, right? Because lore is really important for me. It's a huge aspect of the game. It's kind of one of the reasons why I love War Machine so much. And I kind of just want to talk a little about, a high overview of kind of where we're at on the lore-wise, in case you haven't been keeping up the last couple years. So, if you watch a couple of our other videos, you've seen that there's, a couple of time skips. There was the, Battle of Hingehold, where the Infernals came. Infernals pretty much lost, right? You had one Infernal get trapped in the Witchfire sword, right? Its soul got trapped in there. Another one kind of just escaped, and the third one got pushed into a portal, which wound up where Warcaster is at, which is, a completely different game that's put thousands of years in the future, which also somehow one of Cain's descendants is there. Another story altogether on that one, right? Because, Cain sleeps around. But we know it wasn't Cynthia because she's in this story. And also, there's a chance that some of the Hingehold Scrolls was not true, and it was true because it was a crazy person telling us. So after the Hingehold Scrolls, right, there was a good time period, right? That ended in almost at 2012 in 612. All right, so that was 612 AR, so 612 years after the rebellion had started against the original first invasion of the Orgoth. And there was a good 10-year period where there wasn't a whole lot going on. You had these small little things where, there was kind of like a plague that has gone through Signar, and that's more of a more recent thing that's happened, where, it's a bunch of people are getting really sick. King Julius had died. And Kador, you have, a whole rebellion that had almost happened against the queen, but then they kind of came back and they've reformed their army. You haven't really heard a whole lot about Minoth. We know that, it's kind of falling apart right now. But then you jump into what is happening now, right? So with the lore now is the kind of broad overview is the Orgoth are invading again. And as the Orgoth were invading, you start seeing that they're kind of doing these different things. Bladderghast gets involved, and Bladderghast, if you don't know who that is, it's one of the dragons that came from Turok, right? The dragon father. And he was the one that was supposed to be watching the island to see if Turok ever leaves. He was going to be the one to signal the other dragons, right? To go and stop him, right? Or to go fight him again. Well, he somehow got into the battle with the Orgoth, and they took control of him. And at one point, he ripped his own soul and heart out. Which the little bit that was a little bit of a shard that was broken off, that was given to Kruger, who was a warcast that was working with, or warlock that was working with Bladderghast, and that's kind of how you have that solo Kruger right now. Now, the reason why they need that is because they were giving that to Crix so that Turok could get part of his soul back, and they joined an alliance. So that was kind of the really big stopping point when everything transitioned from Privateer Press and the company to Steamforged Games. So we've had some other stories kind of filling in, but the real main story wasn't progressing until we've gotten these series that are coming in. I'll be honest, I am terrible at saying things, so I think it's called Incendiaries. It's these there's 6 of them right now, the 6 parts of it. So the first one kind of opens up with Minoth, so you kind of see a little bit about how, hey, this great faction that was there is kind of falling apart, right? But you start seeing, as you're reading this, you start seeing this story progress more. So where we're at now, and again, really high level, right? But I kind of want to talk a little bit about the impacts afterwards, is that you're starting to see that the Orgoth are teaming up with Crix, and they are trying to do a handful of things, right? One is the Orgoth are trying to take over Ord, and it looks like Ord has effectively fallen in the story. Not completely down and out, right? Because you still have the Crucible Guard, you still have Ord there, but they are in really, really bad shape, right? And one of the stories that says, hey, Ord's fallen. but they're still kind of battling it. So I think they're on the losing side on that. And then you start seeing down south, Admiral Boomhauer, right? Admiral Boomhauer was told that there was this raid going on down south, but they thought, look, it couldn't be the Orgoth. That's too far south of them because they're all raiding, the Khador and Ord. There's no reason why they would be there. And then you're like, no, wait, hold on, it's Crix. And a Crix Warcaster takes Admiral Boomhauer and kills her, right? And which is crazy because we went so many years with Privateer Press never killing a Warcaster. You've had Warcasters have their bodies broken, all that stuff. And the first really big one was Striker. They finally killed off Striker. And that took a good probably, I don't know, 13 years before they finally killed off a Warcaster. And then they kind of went crazy and hinged old scrolls, killed a bunch of them, right? But hey, we have this fresh new batch of Warcasters, and Admiral Boomhauer was only introduced to the story in probably 2023, maybe 2024, but I think it was 2023 when she was introduced. So she hasn't been around that long, and she was killed off in 2025, right? So you're thinking 2 years at most she has been around, maybe 2.5. But that's really big because that's a huge driver of the story, and it's not even like, oh, she might have died. No, they talked significantly about how they killed her, and the Crix Warcaster, Nakane, I think her name is, has her soul and is currently torturing it. So that's insane, right? And then, on the other hand, now you have Khador and Signar working together because they're also dealing with some new things that the Orgoth are doing. And when I was first reading it, it sounded almost like Mind Slayers, right? Or the Dredges from Cephalix. And that might be where they're getting the technology from, because as you're reading through these stories, you're seeing that, hey, Crix, Cephalix, and Orgoth are all working together, right? They're really the big bads right now. And it looks like Orgoth is carving runes in the skin, which is more like a thrall, but also putting these things over their eyes and cutting Khadorian arms off to just make these little weird stubs. And they are effectively making these like mind slave, drudges situation of Khador. Khador residents, right? Khador citizens. And in that story, you kind of see Vilkrul is teaming up with Buck Hasker and trying to win back their country, but also putting these individuals out as humanely as they can. And that's kind of where we're at with the story right now, right? So you've had Orgoth invade. Ord is pretty much fallen. Khador is still in ruins because that's where they initially hit, right? So Signar is actually, for once, not being besieged by all sides, which is kind of nice in the story. And then, but on south, right, you have trolls, unfortunately, being trolled because they just always kind of get beat up somehow, right? Either Signarans stealing their land, or now Crix just like murdering their Warcasters and trying to, again, steal their land down there. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really interested to see what Steamforged Games does with the future of the game and the future of the lore, and what they're going to continue to do to progress it, right? Is this setting up what we're going to see for more with the new Orgoth army that's going to be coming out, right? When we see the new Crix army, is there going to be a little bit of Orgoth influence because they're teaming up so much together? I don't think so, but it'd be interesting, right? I'm curious how they're going to have lore reflect game rules. And also, what are they going to do with the story, right? There has to be some big turning points. We've lost the dragon in the world, right? You're effectively saying that, hey, a country might have fallen, right? We had Leo fall way back in the beginning, right? Now do we have Ord that's falling? Is Khador going to fall? I don't think Khador is going to fall. But what is going to happen, right? What are going to be the big driving points? Because the one thing I do love about War Machine is the lore has always moved forward. It's always been pretty progressive. I'll be honest, I really don't play very many other games, right? Like I played 40K a little bit and I liked it, but it felt like the story was very stagnant for a very long time. I do think they're progressing the story more now. Sorry, I'm starting to speed up now, which is great, but I think it's rocking my camera a little bit. And, you know, you have like other miniature stories that they kind of progress a little bit, but I really want to see what they do in the near future, right? What is going to push the story more? Is it going to be this slow build up to where we eventually fight off the Orgoth? Is this going to be a story over the next 10 years where we're fighting the Orgoth? Because that's kind of what it felt like with the you know, fighting Crix and Khador and Signar fight. I don't know. I'm probably rambling a little bit right now, so I do apologize. But again, these are just car thoughts. So hopefully this is why you come, so you can just hear me ramble about War Machine. Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just, it's more so I'm just curious, right? So giving you a quick update on the lore and some curiosity. Other than that, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I've got some games I'm going to be playing this weekend, working with Advanced Maneuvers. So we're going to be doing some battle reports. So hopefully you will see that soon. I'll make sure, you know, I'll share as much as I can on all that stuff. I'm going to be playing Gravediggers. I'll probably be playing some Storm Legion as well. Who I'm playing against is probably going to be Khador. And I would think Brian's Blood, but I'm not positive. Yeah, but a lot of fun stuff coming up. As always, if you like this, please let me know. And finally, if you're still here, as a quick reminder, please share this, right? Because once we get to 600 subscribers, we are going to be doing a giveaway, right? And it's going to be the old Umbri Commander set that was given us by Steamforged Games. And we're also going to add a the Baron of Dice old Umbri dice set that was just given us by Baron of Dice. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace.